Hello. It is now 5:59, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. And I get to do this. Mr. Myers is not here, so I, Donna Lozano, am going to be doing the meeting tonight, so I'll need your help. The call to order, would you do roll call, please?
Commissioner Lozano?
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Here.
Commissioner Eastman?
Here.
Vice Chair Muse?
Here.
Chair Meyer?
Absent. We will do the Pledge of Allegiance with Mr. Muse.
Place your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Has everyone read the agenda? Would we like to have it approved? Someone approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve for last month.
I'll second it.
You have that? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Lozano?
Okay. I'd like to read this.
Well, we could take the vote to approve the agenda.
Oh.
That was the first and the second. So
Oh,
I'll
I
just call
see.
out your names. Yes, Commissioner Lozano?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Muse?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
There you go. Yay. Well, the next thing is public comments. And I'm going to read this before we go there. At this time, pursuant to the Brown Act, any person may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Public Safety Commission, not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the Public Safety Commission should not take action or discuss matters raised during public comment portions of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers may not yield their time to others without consent of the chair. All comments are to be directed to the Public Safety Commission and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during public comments. Please complete and submit a speaker card to the city clerk. You will be asked to state your name and city of residence for the record. And we do have a speaker. Her name is Rebecca Rodea. Who starts time? Okay.
Yes, hi, good evening. I'm here for several different people, so I have three things I'm going to try, or 4 things I'm going to try to get over quickly. My friend and I came here several months ago concerning a stop sign on 4th Street, making it a 4-way stop. It was put on the agenda, but I haven't heard anything else. I know they were going to be doing a study. So if that could be like on next month's agenda to update me what's going on, I'll be at that meeting. So I need to know if there's something going on with that. The second thing that people have come to me about is the vandalism that's been going around. I don't know if you guys saw what happened to that building right over here by the Tasty, brand new business, and if their wall was done. I walk my dogs every morning into Tedesco Park, and every weekend that place just gets tagged. They just painted it, and the walls were tagged. So the vandalism is getting bad, and it's gang related, which scares me because I worked in correctional education for 25 years. And when you start seeing the gang stuff going up on the walls, there's going to be gang problems. Okay. The other one, my friend was just talking to me outside the soccer park down there. Apparently they're having a real issue with homeless people. The woman's bathing in the water fountains and laying on the ground, and just a real menace. I imagine that would probably be with the vandalism too, if we could start getting more patrols if possible. I know you guys are working on hiring. And then the last one is animal control. Somebody posted on Facebook they had a cat that was dying, a stray cat that was dying, and they called animal control, and they were told they couldn't do anything for them because they were closing in 20 minutes. So I don't know what the process is or what their policy is, or if there's anything in place for an emergency, or like after hours. What if we have a coyote ring through the area? What do we do? You guys are closed at 5, so we're out till the next day. So I'd like to know if there's something in place for that, and if that can be put on the agenda for next month. And I'll definitely be back. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
The things that I can address would be the homeless situation, would be the police department, am I correct? To talk to the police department. I can only direct you, and hopefully you get all your answers. But I'm thinking the police department, you need to go to them and tell them exactly, they're hearing us now as well. The vandalism,
It's out of control.
I know, any,
We thought, I mean, the first place, I mean, welcome back again. We do remember you coming out, and I know I've heard in the last weekends they've been meeting. The city's been meeting, and I know the stop sign. That's the issue with me. You know, different areas. You need one in your area. I need one in my area, and unfortunately it takes. There's a lot of red tape that goes involved with that, and I wish. You know, talking to Nick personally, he says, I wish I could just put one here. First thing he said the other night was, my friend was talking to him, he said, if I could put a stop sign here, I'd just put it here. But, you know, of course you got to go through all the red tape, you know, and I mean, and it's a lot of California. It's not just the city can just do it. And so I know they're working on it. That is a main issue. And talking with our police department, Deputy Shaw and our chief, Jim, and as a volunteer over there, I know we are trying to work on that for sure. I mean, that's important. And graffiti, it seems like when school comes in, it happens again. You know, it nonstop, and all we can do is try to stay on top of it. So
I have graffiti removal on my speed dial.
yeah.
Yeah, I call it all the time.
thank you. Animal control, it's my understanding, and I'm correct me if I am wrong, is that when you call them for any emergency, and if they are closed or closing, they should direct you to a number to call or how to get help. I mean, I had a problem one time, and it got resolved after a while, but we should be directed. I agree with you. So who's here on animal control?
Yeah, we're supposed to, but Paul might be out, so
Okay.
let me just give a little bit on that too, yeah, animal control. So a couple things. First off, I'm aware of the post that you're talking about, and that never happened. So that phone call did not come into our animal control, even though it was posted on I think the Desert Hot Springs neighborhood page. Because I saw that post when it initially came up. I talked to our animal control supervisor who was at the office still at the time, and she never received that phone call. So don't believe everything you read on social media. And we are very receptive if we get any calls. If there is not an animal control personnel working, then a police officer will go out and respond. So the calls won't go unhandled. If it's something like an injured animal and animal control is not available, an officer will respond.
Okay.
If it's something that can wait until the next day for animal control to follow up, they will. But if it's something that needs immediate response, it'll either be animal control or a police officer.
Okay, thank you.
And I agree with that. Always call the police department because they'll at least direct you to where we need to do that. Do we have our dispatch in place? Or
Dispatch, no, our dispatchers are dispatching, but they're dispatching out of Cathedral City. The state has one technology piece that they're still putting together that we're hoping anytime here that it'll open up and then our spot will be open.
thank you for coming and voicing that again, and I hope you come back and tell us everything is just wonderful. But then I'll wake up. Yes. Well, I guess we're off to new business here, and we're not going to deal with the staffing, police department staffing, because we would like Mr. Meyer to be here, and he cannot.
Do
this
we need to
evening.
make a motion down to
To
move it?
Re-agendize?
reassignment?
Yeah, we can entertain a motion to
Yeah.
have it put off to the next meeting.
Please.
Sure.
Okay. Let's do that.
Okay.
Just someone make a motion in a second.
Right. I make a motion to re-agendize the police department staffing for next meeting.
I'll second it.
All right, we'll take it to a vote. Commissioner Lozano,
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Muse.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Well, we're already to administrative reports. We have animal control, but she's not here. Is there anyone that can say or receive? I guess not. Do you know anything about animal control being here?
I have not heard anything from Animal Control. Possibly Deputy Chief Shaw might know.
Yeah, Paul was supposed to be here, and I don't
Yeah.
know why he's not. I was just texting Stephanie to see where he was at. He might have got, I heard him on the radio a little while ago. He might have got stuck on the
Oh,
call,
okay.
so I apologize for
All
that.
right. Okay, well, he may come and we'll hear that. Next is code compliance. And we have,
I'm Tyler with Code Compliance. Last month, a total number of service requests completed was 93. We did a total of 357 inspections. We issued 94 courtesy notices of violation. We issued 41 citations totaling $33,600. Code Compliance Officer Keith Sarton retrieved 49 abandoned shopping carts from the public right-of-way in the month of September. 50 shopping carts were picked up and hauled away from the corporate yard in the month of September. Code Compliance hosted the first community cleanup for the department. Public Works and Desert Valley Disposal assisted with promoting organic recycling. Cleanup efforts were focused on abating overgrown vegetation impeding to the public right-of-way, discarded household items left on vacant parcels, and cleaning up the sidewalks from debris and litter. 4 truckloads of furniture and trash were removed from Buena Vista Avenue between Palm Drive and West Drive. Brochures, flyers, and refrigerator magnets, complete with information on who to contact for illegal dumping, proper waste disposal, and bulky item pickups were handed to members of the public. Code Compliance assisted the city's new contract security company, iSecurum, with enforcing the municipal code for all noise violations, disruptive activities, and short-term rental complaints. During their patrol, 7 complaints were reported and verbal warnings were given. During the month of September, patrol sweeps were done in the city's main thoroughfare and parks to enforce the 602 no trespassing ordinance.
wow, very good. Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments on that right now?
Yeah, I got one, Tyler. So can you tell us a little bit more about the people out there listening or watching, obviously, on the Airbnb STVR? Said 2 people are out there now?
Yeah, we have 2 overnight security guards from iSecurum to help us enforce
And
that.
there's there a phone number or place? Because I've talked to a few people and they weren't even aware they're out there. Do they just call the code compliance? Or are they calling the city? Or is there a direct number where everybody can actually call if they need to call?
There's going to be a direct number to the hotline, and they will contact us and the iSecurum team immediately to go out there. We should be able to respond right away. And then we have the contacts for the emergency contacts on the Airbnb for their business license. And then the owner or a representative of the owner has to appear at the property within 30 minutes.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Okay, just a couple things. Miss Newsom isn't here. I was curious about some update on some vacant properties. I've been taking a look at a couple of them here in town over the last month and couple of months or so, and what an update on the legal status. They're vacant buildings. My own background, I have the opinion they're a bit of a fire hazard. Actually a significant fire hazard. There's a building adjacent to the Tuscan Springs Hotel and Spa. It's off of Club Circle Drive. It's a low-rise building, painted pale blue exterior. It's got a number that's affixed to the exterior of it. And I guess, Ms. Newsom was talking about it a while ago that it was in the process of receivership or something like that. And then, of course, there's the Hyundai Hotel, and then there was a building on Palm Drive. I think the cross street is 6th Street. It's right across the street from the new Dollar General store there. And it's been vacant for some time. If you knew anything about that and where we are in the process with those buildings.
So the only one that I have control over is going to be the Club Circle one. That's actually my case, and I did submit for a warrant to have for a demolition warrant.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Lee, you have any? No. We're all good. Thank you. Moving on. Fire Department monthly and quarterly report, and that would be Mr. Beverlin.
Good evening, Commissioners. If it's okay with you, to start with the monthly report for September. Total incidents inside the city limits, 483. Of those incidents, Engine 37 responded 413 times. As far as mutual aid given and received, the city received mutual aid 239 times and provided mutual aid 62 times. And there was one significant incident, which was a reported structure fire. For the quarterly report, 1,456 calls within the city. Engine 37 responded to 1,188 of those responses. As far as the mutual aid received and given goes, Engine 37 provided 253 mutual aid responses out of the city, and the city received 905 mutual aid responses into the city. And then, as you can see, for the average response time, it's 5 minutes and 16 seconds, and that's 61%, 0.38.
That's great.
During that quarter, there were several significant incidents. Mostly were structure fires. One was an apartment structure fire where there were multiple units involved and multiple occupants displaced. However, nobody was injured and there were no firefighter injuries. That's pretty much highlights my report, and I'd be happy to answer any question you might have.
Well, I have a question. Do you think, because of all this hot weather, as long as it's going on, are you having more or less fire incidents? Do you offhand?
I think the fire types that we have in Desert Hot Springs that are related to residential units are probably increasing, just like it is nationally. In regards to the vegetation and rubbish fires that we've seen in the city, that has definitely decreased, and that's a result of a culmination of work that's been happening between code enforcement, the fire department, the police department, several city staff members, some other governmental agencies that we've been working with. We have a combustible materials task force that works inside the county that has roughly 33 different entities that are part of that. And some of our larger issues that we've had in the last year here, we've been able to work together to come to some conclusions of how we're going to deal with those situations. So two of our largest problems have not been problems for the last 2 months because of that team's involvement.
Wow. Interesting. Mr. Muse, you have questions? Any
Hello,
others?
Chief.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the jurisdiction unit responses, and you mentioned Engine 37, is Engine 36 included in that figure as well?
So I don't think it is, and the reason why I say that is because of the agreement between the county and the city, so that the engine is funded by the county and the station is funded by the city. So I believe that's all from Fire Station 37. I will double check with the stat person that I have just to double check, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Okay.
Are you-
I got nothing to compare it to, but I noticed your medical calls, there are a lot of them there, but that's probably pretty normal. But I have no way of comparing them to last month or the month before. So is that a pretty standard number? That's 1,600 or 1,100, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think just if you look at a trend, it's pretty consistent across the county. Right now, we're estimating that we're about 5% incident growth across the county. However, our busier areas tend to go at a little bit steeper angle than that. So maybe, somewhere between 5 and 8% growth for areas like, say, Palm Desert that are really growing in population. And I would say that Desert Hot Springs is probably one of those where we have a lot of population growth going on right
Do
now.
you think the weather have anything to do with that? I mean, through the hot weather we had, would cause a lot of that type of
You know, those are
calls?
all hit and miss. I mean, that real strong heat wave that came through definitely had some
Yep.
increased call volume, but then, you know, a couple weeks later, we had a real nice monsoonal flow that came through, and other than wind-driven calls, there weren't really anything in there that would increase the call volume dramatically. So
Oh,
it's kind of an
great.
ebb and a flow.
Okay, thank you.
Well, okay, go ahead.
I just had one other question, and it actually relates to what Commissioner Eastman was talking about, the medical calls. Do we have, as we sit here today, an update on the station improvement for Station 37? As we discussed before, we can't put our squad in service because of the station's limited size. It can't accommodate the additional crew members. And just how that relates to also the timetable on Station 98, as either the completion and, the implementation of responses out of either station would alleviate some of the burden on Station 37 and a more equitable distribution of the responses. So where do we stand as far as you're aware of right now with those projects?
So as you know, the city plans on addressing several functions all at one time. So the public safety campus and the new fire station are all kind of combined into one project.
Okay.
To my knowledge, those have not gone out to bid yet, so we got some time.
I just want to,
Thank you.
thank you. Did you say that Haboob didn't cause any bigger problems out here? I remember when we were going through that, there was a plane that was, I swear, going to land on my roof, but it made it. I'm not from, how high does that go? I mean, would a plane just go up higher, I hope? Was there any kind of a plane incident?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Well, that was an experience. Indeed it was, I know.
How many of those in San Francisco?
Yeah. Mr. Muse? Oh, thank you very much. Great job as usual. And we're, actually, Mr. Shaw, Deputy Police Chief, your report?
Thank you. And I'll try and keep you entertained, because I know Officer Van Wormer from Animal Control was on a call, and I know he's on his way, so hopefully he'll get here
Okay.
before we finish up, so he can give you the report from Animal Control. But I do want to touch on a couple things that have been discussed, so I don't forget. One, there was a comment at the beginning, obviously, about the homeless over at the soccer park. A couple of things on homeless. Yes, the police department's very active in contacting our homeless population, trying to find resources for them. But it's not all just a police department thing. It's I think we've all heard that it's not illegal to be homeless, which is true. There are some violations that occur when you're homeless that are conducive kind of to the homeless population, and that can be stuff with littering, blocking the public right-of-way, narcotics violations, that type of stuff. So we're out there very much engaged in contacting the homeless. We did notice towards the end of the summer that we had a big uptick in the homeless population that came into the city. And we from talking to several of them, they came from different parts of the county and just kind of found their way to Desert Hot Springs, not for any particular good reason other than they just came out here. The ADJOURN group that was talked about earlier, that's dealing with the short-term vacation rentals, there's a second component of that, and that is those security officers during the daytime, during the week when they're not doing short-term vacation rentals on the evening and during the weekend, Monday through Thursday during the daytime, are going to be out doing community engagement with the homeless population. That component is very close to starting up. There's just some training that the police department wanted to do with those officers. They're still part of the security group and falling under the umbrella of code. but they will be out there contacting the homeless population, offering those resources to free up patrol officers to handle the other more serious calls for service. So that is a component that's being worked on, and I'm hoping within probably the next week or so we'll see that part of the component out there helping to address the homeless population in the city. So that was that. There was a couple comments. I think the Hyundai Hotel was one that Commissioner Mitchell had a comment on, and Christina can give you the very best details on that. But if you recall, it was in a conservatorship. I do know the last that went before a judge, that whole process, and the hotel was sold. So I don't know the terms of the sale, but my understanding is that the sale was done not to tear it down, but to rehabilitate that property. So
Really?
Christina can give some more
Wow.
information, but that was the last I heard, and that was just a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago that I heard that. Along the same lines, the Sahara Resort Hotel, is really the next project. If you saw, we put out some social information on social media a few weeks ago when we did a security sweep, a safety sweep through there, because of complaints that we'd been getting from the community about not only homeless, but just people in there, staying in there, narcotics violations going on there. So we did go in there with a number of officers. We contacted 30 individuals. During that sweep, we had, if I recall, 7 or 8 arrests that were made out of it. And the rest of the individuals, all of them were advised, but those that weren't arrested were allowed to leave, but given trespass violation notices, so that if we go back, which we will be doing, they will be arrested for trespassing. We are currently putting together a detail to go back out there with some additional resources, but is one of those kind of ongoing things, very much like the Hyundai Hotel, that unfortunately it's not a quick fix, but there's a lot of different agencies and departments in the city that are working on it to try and move it along and find a resolution to that area. I mean, the resolution is just to knock that place down and start over again, but we'll see what happens. That's my personal opinion. So,
Well, I've
so
been-
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So with that, I'll just kind of run through some of the stats real quick. I did notice a typo on this, but so you know, so for events for the month of September, it's actually 3,367 for the month of September, so up quite a bit. September was a busy month. And where the typo was under officer initiated, that should be 703, which corresponds to those numbers below that break down those officer events for you for traffic stops, vehicle checks, building checks, and whatnot. Arrest-wise, there was 95 arrests in the month of September. Again, I think that's the most so far this year that we've had. Again, a pretty busy month. And citations, 168, which is the second highest so far for this calendar year. So officers are keeping really busy. On the crime stats, you're going to notice a couple different reports I gave you. As we've been talking about, we're doing the NIBRS reporting now. It's no longer UCR reporting. UCR is much more conducive to reading and understanding and putting together crime stats. So what you have in front of you is the first one that lists the months of the year that's showing January through December. That's our typical UCR reporting that we've been used to all this long. The other pages behind that, that's the NIBRS reporting. And if you just look at the report, you can see it's confusing, kind of hard to understand. It's not an apples to apples comparison, unfortunately. So I did try and break it down a little bit because I'd rather talk about right now UCR numbers because that's what we're used to. Number one, that we've been doing since the beginning of the year, and I'd rather try and finish off the year of that, but two, it's just a little, like I said, a little bit easier to understand. But for September, no homicides. There were several rape investigations that were done. Robberies, we had 2 robberies. It's not broken down on that sheet. Normally we have it broken down, it's a firearm or knife or other, just because UCR doesn't do that or NIBRS does not break it down like that for us. The same as with the assaults and the burglaries. So I can give you an overall number, and the numbers are pretty consistent to what we've seen all year long. The assaults are 16, burglaries 7, larcenies are 23, up a little bit, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. And vehicle theft 22, which is up a little bit than what we've seen from the previous month. So hopefully as we go along with the NIBRS, all of us will gain a better understanding of how NIBRS works. And I think even more so once we hit January and we start off the new calendar year and we start using NIBRS completely and don't have that mixed up with UCR numbers, it gives everybody a better idea of where we're at. What I can tell you though is what we expect when we go to NIBRS is for the crime stats to go up, but it doesn't mean that crime's going up. It's just because the comparison's different, because it's not an apple-to-apple comparison. So our crime stats, or crime that we deal with, has been pretty consistent throughout the calendar year. We're not seeing any big uptick, except for one thing I'm going to talk about in just a moment with you guys. I'll just give that just for info, for a backstory on that. Moving along to the budget. We're doing pretty good. So we're about 25% through the fiscal year. The police department is at about 33% of budget, so we're a little bit over that 25% mark. Some of this is construction related, some of it is just unforeseen breakdowns, air conditioning, leaks up in our roof, that type of stuff. Vehicle, we've been having a high vehicle maintenance the last few months and stuff. So, but we've got a good handle on it, I think. Animal control is about 22% of the budget, so just below budget. And code, I'm going to tell you, code right now is about 30% of the budget. There's been a shift in code. It's no longer under the umbrella of the police department. So code has moved over here to City Hall. So going forward, Jessica Love, who is our fiscal manager, analyst, she won't be doing the code budget. So Christina will report out to you guys on the code, but they've just done kind of some shifting of how that looks. Events coming up. So last week, a couple of things. One is we really have been trying to increase our social media exposure. So if you're not, please go on Desert Hot Springs Police Department Facebook or Instagram and sign up to follow us. We've really been putting a lot of information out. Kelsey Muse, who is our property and evidence tech, has taken on a collateral duty as our social media guru, if you will. And she's really putting out some excellent videos, and not only are we trying to make them engaging and informative, but timely. We want to get information out as quickly as we can to the community and stuff. So any ideas that folks have, we're always welcome to them. It's been around obviously for a while. We've done it, but we're just trying to up our game in that and stuff. So take a look at that if you haven't taken a look at it. Events coming up last Friday. If you didn't get a chance, we did a Faith in Blue picnic at Word of Life over on Pearson. So Faith in Blue weekend was a national event that puts together faith-based organizations and police departments and just does community events. And so this is the first time we participated in it. It's been around for a few years now. But Bishop Shepard over at Word of Life welcomed us over to his location where we were able to just do a little picnic. We barbecued some hot dogs and stuff and just meet with the community and stuff. So we had folks come out, and it wasn't a prayer session or anything like that. This was just a get together and know your neighbors type thing. So we're looking forward to that again next year. But yeah, it was a successful event. Some other events coming up is this weekend is the Dia de los Muertos Festival, and that's on Saturday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And that's over at the Desert Hot Springs Recreation Center. You know, Councilman Nunez, this is one of his babies and stuff. So last year was the first year that took place, and it was a real good event. So if you have some free time, swing by. It's a free event. There'll be vendors and different things for kids to do and everything like that, so that'll be a lot of fun. September 22nd, there's going to be a job and wellness fair, and this is put on by the Rotary Club, but the police department is going to have a table at that.
October 22nd.
So that's October 22nd, and that will run from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, at the Health and Wellness Center. So again, not just the police department, we're just going to have a table out there, but there'll be a number of vendors out there and folks out there looking to hire folks. So if you get a chance, swing by that. Another event that the police department has teamed up with is the Trunk or Treat event. So this is going to be at Mission Springs Park. So we've teamed up with the Rotary Club. They were doing a zombie walk festival fair at the park on that day on let's see, October 29th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. So we're piggybacking on with them. Last year we did a trunk or treat event out there. We had about 1,500 kids come to our event. We decorated police cars and the motorcycle, had cotton candy and popcorn and stuff like that. So it should be a pretty good event. And teaming up with the Rotary Club and their event, I imagine it'll be packed. So come on out there if you get a chance on October the 29th for that. We're going to save the staffing for next meeting. I talked about earlier, I wanted to talk to you about an uptick in some thefts that we've seen. And just this week alone, for some reason, we've seen an uptick in catalytic converter thefts. It's been one of those things we've talked about. Desert Hot Springs really has not been hit about it. The city council has an ordinance that dealt with catalytic thefts. And again, for the last several years, we've had a few, but nothing big. But in the last week alone, we've had 5. Not sure why. They're spread out throughout the city. So I bring that up to you just to remind folks, when you park your vehicles, if you can park them in a lighted area, do that. Make sure you lock it, even though, you know, catalytic theft is underneath the car and stuff. But take a look at the stuff. If you have an alarm, turn your alarm on, because with them shaking around cars and stuff, that alarm will go off. Number one. And number 2, if it does happen, do call us. Don't think, hey, it's gone, we can't do anything, we're never going to catch them. 1, we'll try and catch them. But 2, we need to document it, and we need to be able to kind of track where this is going and try and put together a pattern so we can do our due diligence and our enforcement on that and see how we can track down these folks that are still in these things. So again, I just wanted to share that with you. We talked about the dispatch center. I mentioned the dispatchers are currently, all of their dispatchers. So we just hired our number 10 dispatcher. So, and then our number 11 dispatchers coming in for a chief's interview next week. So we'll be fully staffed. I anticipate that number 11. There's a couple other components they have to do after the chief's interview. But we should have a fully staffed dispatch center. All of them are currently working out of Cathedral City and dispatching for Desert Hot Springs. The dispatch center is set and ready to go. There's just one component. Because it's new, this is, like we said, the first one in the state. There's a technology piece that the state and one of the vendors are putting together. Initially, when that came up, they said, we're going to try and have it done in 30 days, 60 days, more likely, but no later than 90 days. So about middle of November is the 90 days. So we're getting it in that 60 to 90 day window. So we're anticipating it any time here. They continue to give it. The state gives us updates, and they're moving right along. And they don't anticipate any further delays once this gets set up and stuff. So we should be operational within our own building any very time soon here. We just started this last week remodeling not our lobby, but the front area of the police department where our records division is at. It houses our records division, our sergeants, our watch commanders, our report writing room for our officers. So that is getting a remodel. If you go in there now, it's down to, well, they just did drywall today, so it went down to a lot of it was just studs. It's been re-drywalled. So the plan on that is it's getting fresh paint, fresh flooring, all new furniture. The actual remodel work should be done within the next 2 weeks. And then the first part of November, the furniture is supposed to arrive and that will be installed, and that part will be done. Once that is done, then the next phase, as discussed earlier, is the big one, which is Station 37 and the annex building of the police department. And I believe the last I've heard is in January is when that's supposed to go out to bid. So that'll still be a few months. It's got to go through that process. But the first part of that then will be the exterior wall that will surround the public safety campus, the fire and the police department and the annex building. and then the remodel and stuff like that. So it's moving along, it's moving in the right direction. We're getting there. And I think that's all I have, unless you have any other questions.
Mr. Mitchell? Mr. Eastman?
Yeah, I have one, Chief. I'm gonna have several, but we are gonna have our own 911, right?
Yes, so our dispatch is our 911 center, so it handles 911 calls for police only.
Yeah, I wanted to get that out to the public, could hear that, so they realize that they're not Cathedral City anymore.
Nope.
They're
Yeah.
coming right here to us.
It'll come straight to our building over on Pearson.
Which is outstanding.
Yes.
I think that's a good thing. When are they gonna get around to establishing some new locker rooms and stuff for the officers and stuff? When does that happen?
So the new locker rooms will be in the annex building. So
Okay.
that's, again, once they do the proposal and take
That's
the
in the
bids and
annex, the
stuff.
other part.
But the new annex building will have all the new lockers in it.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed the room over there is all gutted out. So they're putting drywall in there now, huh?
Yeah, so the current building, if you ever been there, I know you have, and Commissioner Muse has, there's a briefing room, and then there's a couple doors from the briefing room that go to the locker rooms. But because the officer's report writing room is being redone, all the computers have been moved to the briefing room. So we have a big briefing table, and it's now covered with 7 or 8 computers for officers to do their reports. So it's a little bit cramped right now for everybody.
Yeah, it looks a little interesting.
But everybody understands that it's a short-term thing that's going on, and once the remodel there is done, the front area, the report writing room and the records area and stuff, again, in November, that'll be up and running, and folks will be back in their offices.
How do we stand with our new units, our black and whites, patrol units?
Yeah, the new ones are doing fine. Our older ones, 2017s and 2018s, those are the ones that are kicking us, that we're running into issues and spending a lot of money on maintenance on stuff. We were fortunate, so last year that we had picked up a lease for a number of new units, but we were also able to pick up just this last month. We actually ordered them a while ago, but 2 brand new units that we're purchasing and not leasing that came in. One has come in, and it's a police, and it's a Dodge Durango SUV. That came in. Another one is the police Interceptor, which is the Ford Explorer that you see most of our units are. That should be in any time. The other thing that we have coming in, supposedly it's been delayed, but they're saying October 15th is our prisoner van. And so once we get our prisoner van, it still has some outfitting to do, but what that will allow us is our community service officers, who we're fully staffed right now with our community service officers. We have 3. They do a lot of our transport. So it allows us, one, to transport people to jail that need to go to jail, as opposed to citing and releasing them, which had happened a lot during COVID. We've been getting away from it, but sometimes we run into the problem just because if we only have 2 units working, and again, it'd only be for a nonviolent, low offense crime, but some folks that are repeat offenders, like trespassers, that type of thing, we get to a point where they need to go to jail other than get a ticket. So the prisoner van will be a great tool for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, that'll freeze out and let an officer out the street.
Yeah, because going to jail could take
That takes a
several
long
hours.
time,
And so if an officer's doing it, we lose that officer on the street. And again, like I said, if we've only have 2 or 3 working, that could be a third or a half of our police force that's working on the street.
We could use about twice as many, but I know we can't help.
Yeah. So, but we've got some. So we're hanging in there with the cars, but some of the older ones, the officers, we're trying to take care of them as best we can.
How many officers do we have now? I mean, how are we standing there with?
Well, I tell you, for about a hot minute, we were right up there at the top. And then we lost 3 folks in 1 week, a couple weeks ago, all for good reasons. One officer, Detective Cole, retired after 35 years.
That was rough.
25 years with the Desert Hot Springs Police Department. Detective Tooth, who'd been with the department for 7 or 8 years, is one of our fantastic detectives. But he took a job offer with the DA's office, We hate to see him go, but again, it's betterment for him and his
The
family.
DA
and
always
stuff.
keeps stealing our guys.
They do. They tend to do that. And then Sergeant Johnston, he was our canine officer, recently just made sergeant. It was just kind of a quick thing that came down, but he moved back east to Georgia, took a job out there. That's where his family's from, or he's close to his family out there and
Good for
stuff.
him.
So I can't fault any of them at all for
No.
leaving. It was just, three within a week for us.
Yeah.
So now you got to replace
It's a
them.
big hit, so, but we've got some going through backgrounds and stuff. It's just, you all know the story. It's a long process, number one. And number two is, we're still getting applications in. All of them end up on my desk, and, unfortunately, a lot of them I don't push through or push back, because we're not changing our hiring standards. We still have an expectation of what we're looking for, and qualified applicants is what we want. And so we're not lowering our standards just to have a warm body in a seat out there and stuff. So we're still moving forward. We'll still keep working hard at it.
Right.
Thanks for the report, Chief.
Yes.
I just always want to say I'm always amazed at how informative that you are, and you're on top of everything, and you don't forget what we need to know. Being a person that was here before it incorporated, we had the cute little sheriffs come around, but no stoplights, nothing. So you're doing a fantastic job, and I appreciate everyone that they do what they do.
Thank
So
you. And I'll pass that on to him. Thank you.
thank you very much. Well, I was just going to say, are you Paul? Hi, Paul. We'll hear from the animal control now.
Good evening, Commissioners. So for the month of September, we had 79 intakes, 15 returned to owner, 33 sent to rescues. Part of those upticks in numbers from the previous month, we had large batches of kittens and/or puppies come in. So some of those are a little easier to get out to specific rescues. We had 3 animals taken to the Coachella Valley Animal Campus, 7 to the vet. We had 14 DOAs, 2 euthanized. We did 17 licenses in September, 12 warning citations, 167 calls for service, and we had 59 participants at the Animal Action League bus in our parking lot. So
Wow.
not all of them are Desert Hot Springs, but it's open to everybody. And I don't have a breakdown of how many were each city. They won't give us that. Any questions for animal control?
Yes, we had a speaker, Mrs. Rodea, and she talked about having called the animal control for, and my question is, do you direct people, if they call and just say, try this number or call someone else? What is the practice?
Could you repeat what the situation was? I'm not familiar with what happened.
Well, a neighbor of Mrs. Rodea said she called the animal control. She had an incident. I'm not sure, was it an accident of an animal, whatever. But she was told that we're closing in 20 minutes, so we can't help you. That doesn't
sound right.
No,
but,
it doesn't.
There are other resources out there, and ideally, if it's an animal that's owned, even if it's a feral cat that they've been taking care of, that individual, we can give them some resources where they can take it for emergency services after hours. Certainly, yeah.
Mr. Eastman?
Maybe you could talk to the young lady
Yes.
after the meeting.
She's here.
And she can explain to you
And
what the problem was.
Sure,
Maybe
absolutely.
you
Exactly.
can help her out a little bit.
Okay, so it is good to know that there are resources that you refer.
Sure.
So perhaps he can help you, he will help you. Right, good. Thank you.
Can I jump in and say one more thing to that? Because we're putting Officer Van Wormer on the spot here, because he's been off the last
No.
few days. So his first day was back, and yeah, he wasn't familiar with that incident, but he definitely has the resources. And as I mentioned, we had checked that They may have called another animal, the county or something like that for that. But the other point I wanted to make too is, Officer Van Orm, he gave you those stats, and that's a lot of stats, and that's one full-time person. So we have 2 people working animal control, Officer Van Orm, who obviously is working for full-time, and then Stephanie, our supervisor, but she's still on limited hours, and that's it. So, so it's pretty amazing the work that they're doing over there with the staff.
By no means was it a criticism. It was.
Oh, no, I didn't, no, I didn't take it that way, no.
Oh, okay, because I just want to make sure that I was sure that you had other resources to direct that person to, so.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you guys can make it clearer to each other what happened.
Sure. No
Thank
problem.
you very much for
You're welcome.
coming anyway after your busy evening. So we have any more questions for Paul? Well, guess where we are? Almost. Oh, commissioner report. So Mr. Muse, you go first.
I've really got nothing really to say. Well, I guess I do, just a couple little quick things. One, animal control, you know, if I had a hat, I'd tip my hat to you.
Yeah.
You guys are doing an amazing job, you know, and so, and code, you guys are on it, you know, thanks everything, Tyler and our fire department. You know, we just keep moving forward in the city, and I'm really proud to be part of the city. And the chief, I know we're doing everything we can, and I think we're moving forward. And some people out there might think, well, what more can we do for the auto thefts? They went up a little bit. There's auto thefts everywhere, but, you know, the staffing's coming. And, you know, so again, I'm really proud of what our police department is doing. And I obviously can't wait to, you know, keep expanding it. Everything's going. So that's all I had.
Thank you. And I want to compliment everyone that, as I just said, with their reports, everybody's doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate it. And I'm just going to brag for a second that the reason I wasn't here last month was my grandson graduated Marine boot camp, and you know it's an amazing.
Which one?
Marine. My. Oh.
Paris Island or
No.
West Coast?
No, here, Camp Pendleton.
No, okay.
Yeah. No.
Hollywood Marine.
He's a wonderful kid. I never would have thought, you know, I mean, he was excited and happy. And then when we picked him up, he was more excited and happy. I mean, I guess some people, they're just in tune with that. It is a different life now, you know. So, you know, we have people everywhere that are for the good of our country, our city, our state, everything. And that's all that I have to say. I think. We'll see.
I just had I'm just going to go ahead and, rather than a report or request, I've heard now both from the city council perspective and I've heard from here in this body about the iSecurum security force that's now in the employment. If we could, I'd like to see those people come to a meeting, you know, a representative of that organization, and delineate exactly what it is, where they come from, and what their mission is here in Desert Hot Springs, and exactly how they're enhancing, you know, the mission of dealing not just with the short-term vacation rentals, with the homeless, as the chief alluded to, and ultimately, it sounds like it's an augmentation of law enforcement. So, as that falls under the umbrella of public safety, it would be nice to invite someone articulating their perspective to come to our meetings.
It's a good idea.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. We grill you, but we don't really mean by, you know, I know you're trying really hard. And animal control, that you're doing a great job. So is code enforcement. And the police and chief fire goes without saying. It's just a tough job, guys. And you're all working hard at it. So I'm proud of this city's working very hard. And we just keep going up and up and up. So that's all we can do. Thanks, guys, very much.
Okay, I second that. Thank you very much for allowing me to be the charge person today. Anyway, the meeting is now adjourned. Yay! We did it.
Well done.